a simple woman kicked out of a luxury boutique. Minutes later, her identity as the owner is revealed. She never expected that her casual clothes would get her thrown out of her own establishment. But when her true identity is revealed, everything changes in an instant. The soft glow of early afternoon light streamed through the palm-lined streets of Rodeo Drive, casting elegant shadows across the pristine sidewalks of Beverly Hills. Olivia Bennett navigated the bustling avenue with practiced ease, her observant eyes taking in every detail of the luxury storefronts that dominated this famous shopping district. At 35, she carried herself with a quiet confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was. Her worn-in jeans, simple white t-shirt, and comfortable flats reflected her practical nature rather than her considerable financial status. Today was important. After months of reports and video conferences, Olivia was conducting an unannounced visit to Elysium, the newest and most exclusive boutique in her high-end retail empire. As the founder and majority owner of Bennett Luxury Group, she had built a reputation for exceptional customer service and revolutionary retail experiences across her 17 locations. But this store, her first on the West Coast, had been showing concerning patterns in its customer feedback despite impressive sales figures. Sometimes you need to see things with your own eyes, her grandmother had always said. That wisdom had guided Olivia from her humble beginnings in a small Kentucky town to becoming one of the most influential women in American luxury retail. Today, she would be just another shopper, no special treatment, no advance notice. She adjusted her simple canvas tote bag and quickly checked her reflection in a nearby storefront window. Her naturally curly brown hair was pulled back in a casual ponytail, her face free of makeup except for a touch of tinted moisturizer. She looked nothing like the polished executive whose photo occasionally appeared in business magazines. Perfect. Elysium came into view, its minimalist facade a study in understated elegance. The large windows displayed only 3 expertly styled mannequins wearing this season's most coveted designs. The boutique's name appeared in a clean, sophisticated font, no ostentations. Just quiet confidence. This had been Olivia's vision from the beginning, luxury defined by craftsmanship and experience, not by flashy logos or overt displays of wealth. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped into her creation. The interior of Elysium was everything the reports had described, a masterpiece of design with its soaring ceilings, custom Italian marble floors, and carefully curated merchandise displayed more like museum pieces than products for sale. The store operated on an appointment-preferred basis, but walk-ins were supposed to be welcomed with equal attention if space allowed. Today, only 2 other customers browsed the carefully arranged displays, both attended by impeccably dressed sales associates who moved with practiced grace around their clients. Soft classical music played through hidden speakers, and the subtle signature scent of the brand notes of sandalwood, bergamot, and vanilla perfumed the air. Victoria Chase, the store manager, stood at the central counter reviewing something on a tablet. At 42, Victoria was the picture of Beverly Hills polish, her blonde hair arranged in a perfect bob. Her slim figure showcased in a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her resume had been impressive experience at several top luxury brands and glowing references from industry connections. She had seemed like the perfect choice to launch this flagship location. Olivia approached the counter, purposely scuffing her flat against the marble to announce her presence. Victoria looked up, her practiced smile freezing slightly as she took in Olivia's casual appearance. "Welcome to Elysium," Victoria said, her tone professional but noticeably cooler than the warm greeting Olivia had observed her giving to a well-dressed client moments earlier. "Do you have an appointment today?" "No, I don't," Olivia replied with a warm smile. "I was hoping to browse if that's possible." Victoria's eyes performed a quick but thorough assessment, lingering on Olivia's worn canvas tote and simple flats. "I see. Well, we are rather busy with appointments this afternoon." She gestured vaguely to the nearly empty store. "But you're welcome to look around briefly. Ethan can assist you." She signaled to a young man arranging a display of handbags, each worth more than a decent used car. Ethan approached with the poise of someone who had been extensively trained in the art of luxury service. He was in his late 20s, impeccably groomed in a tailored suit that complemented the boutique's aesthetic. "This is..." Victoria paused, realizing she hadn't asked for Olivia's name. "Olivia," she supplied helpfully. "Olivia would like to browse our collection," Victoria continued, a subtle emphasis on browse that communicated volumes. "Perhaps you could show her our more accessible pieces." Ethan's smile remained fixed, but something flickered in his eyes, recognition of the code Victoria was using. "Of course. Please follow me." As Olivia followed him toward a section of the store that housed the brand's entry-level items still luxuriously priced, but lacking the exclusive appeal of their premier pieces, She noted how different this treatment was from the company's carefully crafted service protocols. Every employee was trained to treat each potential customer as a valued guest, regardless of appearance. The first rule in their service manual read, "Never judge a client's budget by their attire." "Are you looking for anything in particular today?" Ethan asked, his tone pleasant but lacking the enthusiasm he'd shown to the well-dressed woman across the store. "Actually, I'd love to see your new collection," Olivia said. "The fall runway pieces that just arrived." A flash of amusement crossed Ethan's face. "Those items are quite exclusive. The handbags start at $12,000, and the ready-to-wear pieces are in the 5-figure range." He stated the prices as if they were meant to deter her. A subtle barrier erected to protect the merchandise from someone who clearly couldn't afford it. This tactic, price gatekeeping, was explicitly forbidden in Olivia's training programs. "That's fine," Olivia replied calmly. "I'd still like to see them." Ethan hesitated, glancing back at Victoria, who was watching the interaction with poorly concealed disapproval. With a nearly imperceptible nod from his manager, he led Olivia to a small section at the rear of the store where the most coveted pieces were displayed. "This is our limited edition collection," he explained, his tone now shifting to something closer to condescension than assistance. Only 50 pieces of each design were produced worldwide. Olivia reached out to touch an exquisite emerald green dress with hand-embroidered details, exactly the kind of craftsmanship that had built her company's reputation. "Please be careful with that," Ethan said quickly. "It's very delicate." From across the store, the soft sound of champagne being poured reached Olivia's ears. She turned to see Victoria offering refreshments to the well-dressed clients while shooting concerned glances in her direction. "Would you mind if I tried this on?" Olivia asked, indicating the green dress. Ethan's composure slipped momentarily. "I'm afraid our fitting rooms are all reserved for clients with appointments today," he said smoothly. "Perhaps you could come back another time with a scheduled visit." Before Olivia could respond, the boutique's door opened, and a woman entered wearing oversized sunglasses and carrying multiple shopping bags from neighboring luxury stores. Victoria immediately abandoned her post to greet the newcomer. "Measures. Winners, how lovely to see you again," she gushed, her entire demeanor transformed. "We've set aside those pieces you inquired about. Would you like to see them now?" As Victoria escorted the new arrival to a private viewing area, complete with champagne and personalized attention, Olivia continued to browse, increasingly disturbed by the disparity in treatment. This wasn't just poor service, it was a complete violation of her company's foundational principles. A young woman named Madison, according to her discreet name tag, approached Olivia with a tight smile. "Finding everything okay?" she asked, though her tone suggested she hoped the answer was yes, so Olivia would leave soon. "Actually," Olivia replied, "I was wondering if you could tell me about this handbag." She pointed to a limited edition piece displayed on an illuminated shelf. Madison's smile stiffened further. "That's from our exclusive collaboration with Giancarlo Romano. It's priced at $28,000. The price was announced loudly enough that several nearby people could hear, another subtle tactic to suggest Olivia didn't belong. "It's beautiful," Olivia commented genuinely. "The craftsmanship is exceptional." "Yes, well, these pieces are typically acquired by our established clientele," Madison replied, emphasis on established. "We have some lovely card cases and small leather goods at the front that might be more suitable." The dismissal was so transparent that Olivia nearly broke character, tempted to reveal herself just to witness the inevitable transformation that would follow. Instead, she smiled and said, "Actually, I'd like to purchase the bag." Madison blinked, clearly caught off guard. "The Romano bag? The one that's $28,000. "Yes, that one. It would make a wonderful addition to my collection." Madison's expression shifted from dismissive to suspicious. She glanced toward Victoria, who was still attending to Mrs. Winters. "I'll need to speak with my manager about retrieving it from our secure storage." As Madison walked away, Olivia overheard her whispered conversation with Victoria. "She wants to buy the Romano," Madison said, disbelief evident in her tone. Victoria frowned. "Did she show any proof she can actually afford it?" "No, but..." "Then she's wasting our time," Victoria cut in. "Probably wants to take pictures for social media." "Tell her it's been reserved," Madison returned with a practiced expression of regret. "I'm so sorry, but I've just been informed that particular piece has been reserved for a client. We do have a waiting list if you'd like to add your name." Olivia nodded thoughtfully. "I understand, perhaps I could speak with the manager." Madison hesitated. "She's with an important client at the moment." "I'm happy to wait." Discomfort flickered across Madison's face as she realized Olivia wouldn't be easily dismissed. "Let me see if she's available." As Madison approached Victoria, Olivia watched the manager's expression harden, After a brief exchange, Victoria excused herself from Mrs. Winters and approached Olivia with the confident stride of someone accustomed to handling difficult situations. "Hello, I'm Victoria Chase, the store director," she said, extending a manicured hand. "I understand there's some confusion about one of our limited pieces." "No confusion," Olivia replied pleasantly. "I'd like to purchase the Romano bag, but I was told it's reserved." Victoria's smile never reached her eyes. "Yes, unfortunately, that piece has been promised to a longtime client. Our most exclusive items are typically offered to our established customers first. Perhaps I could show you some alternatives more suitable for a first-time buyer." The condescension was barely veiled now. Olivia glanced around the store, noting how another sales associate was watching the interaction while whispering to Ethan. "What would make me suitable, exactly?" Olivia asks, her tone still pleasant but with an edge of challenge. Victoria's professional veneer slipped slightly. "Excuse me. You mentioned alternatives that would be more suitable for me. I'm curious what criteria you're using to determine what's suitable." A flash of annoyance crossed Victoria's carefully maintained expression. "I simply meant that many of our first-time clients prefer to start with more accessible pieces before investing in our heritage collection. And you determined I'm that type of client based on what?" The directness of the question clearly caught Victoria off guard. She recovered quickly, but not before Olivia noticed the momentary panic in her eyes. "We provide personalized service based on our professional assessment of each client's needs and preferences," Victoria said, falling back on corporate language that sounded rehearsed. "I see," Olivia replied. "And your assessment of my needs was based on my appearance when I walked in?" Victoria's smile tightened. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. At Elysium, we pride ourselves on offering an exceptional experience to all our guests." The words were perfect, exactly what should be true according to the company's mission, but the reality playing out told a very different story. "That hasn't been my experience today," Olivia stated calmly. "I'm sorry you feel that way," Victoria responded with practiced insincerity. "Perhaps Elysium isn't the right fit for your shopping needs. I'd be happy to recommend some other boutiques in the area that might be more appropriate." The suggestion that Olivia didn't belong in her own store was the final confirmation of everything she'd feared was happening at this location. She was about to respond when the boutique's door opened again. Sierra Williams entered, her graceful presence immediately commanding attention. At 31, Sierra was one of the fashion industry's most celebrated young designers and had recently joined Elysium as creative director for their West Coast expansion. Her modern approach to luxury and commitment to ethical fashion had been exactly what Olivia had wanted for this new direction of the company. Sierra was dressed impeccably in a simple black jumpsuit of her own design, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. Her keen eyes scanned the store and immediately landed on Olivia. Her face lit up with recognition and genuine pleasure. "Olivia," she called out, striding across the marble floor. "What a wonderful surprise! When did you arrive in LA?" Victoria froze, her expression shifting from dismissive to confused as Sierra embraced Olivia warmly. "Late last night," Olivia replied, returning the hug. "I wanted to see how everything was going in person." Sierra beamed. "You should have told me you were coming. I would have cleared my schedule." Victoria stepped forward, uncertainty evident in her posture. "You two know each other?" Sierra turned, surprised by the question. "Of course. This is Olivia Bennett, our boss." She looked back at Olivia with a quizzical expression. "Didn't they know you were coming today?" The silence that followed was profound. Victoria's face drained of color as the implications set in. Ethan, who had been watching from nearby, suddenly became intensely interested in realigning a perfectly straight row of leather goods. Madison stood motionless, a look of horror dawning on her face. "No," Olivia said calmly. "They didn't know. I wanted to experience the store as a regular customer would." Victoria's professional composure crumbled entirely. "Ms. Bennett, we had no idea." "If we had known." "That's exactly the point, isn't it?" Olivia interrupted gently. "The way you treat people shouldn't change based on who you think they are." Mrs. Winters, sensing drama unfolding, had abandoned her private viewing session and moved closer, not wanting to miss what was clearly becoming an interesting scene. Victoria attempted to recover. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding. We always strive to provide exceptional service to everyone, but during busy periods. Your store is nearly empty," Olivia pointed out. "What I meant was," Sierra interrupted, confusion evident on her face. "Wait, how were you treated before I arrived?" Olivia gave her a meaningful look. "Let's just say it wasn't consistent with our company values." Understanding dawned on Sierra's face, followed by disappointment as she looked at Victoria and the other staff members. "I see." A young sales associate named Thomas, who had been arranging a shoe display nearby, approached hesitantly. Bennett, if I could say something. Victoria shot him a warning glance, but he continued anyway. I've only been here 2 weeks, but I've noticed that customers are categorized based on how they look when they come in. There's even a code system for communicating which clients should receive limited attention. He spoke quickly, as if afraid he'd lose his nerve. The Elysium experience, that's in our training manual, isn't what actually happens on the floor. Victoria's face flushed with anger. That's completely false. Thomas is still learning our systems and has misinterpreted. Is that why you told Ethan to show me the accessible pieces? Olivia asked quietly. Is that part of the code? Victoria fell silent, trapped by her own words. Mrs. Winters, who had been listening with increasing interest, stepped forward. Well, this is rather illuminating. I've always received exceptional service here, but I've spent a small fortune. It's disappointing to think that's the only reason why. Olivia turned to her with a genuine smile. I apologize for your experience today being disrupted, Mrs. Winters. I assure you that what you've witnessed doesn't reflect the values of our company. On the contrary, Mrs. Winters replied, removing her sunglasses to reveal sharp, intelligent eyes. I find this fascinating. It's not often we get to see what happens behind the curtain. She extended her hand to Olivia, Catherine Winters, and I must say, it's refreshing to meet a business owner who cares enough to see how things really operate when no one knows they're being watched. Olivia shook her hand, appreciating the woman's directness. It's a pleasure to meet you, Catherine. I hope this doesn't deter you from returning to Elysium in the future. We'll be making some changes. Oh, I'll definitely be back, Catherine assured her with a knowing smile. This is the most interesting shopping experience I've had in years. Sierra, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. Olivia, should we move this conversation to the office? Olivia nodded, then turned to address the entire store, the staff who now stood in various states of discomfort, and the few clients who were watching the unfolding drama with undisguised interest. I'm Olivia Bennett, founder and CEO of Bennett Luxury Group and owner of Elysium. I want to thank everyone for an enlightening afternoon. To our valued customers, please accept my personal apology for any disruption to your shopping experience today. To show our appreciation, everything you purchase today will be discounted by 30%. The clients murmured appreciatively while the staff exchanged nervous glances. Victoria, Sierra, let's continue this discussion privately, Olivia said, her tone firm but not unkind. As they moved toward the back office, Olivia heard Catherine Winters comment to another client. No, that's how you handle a situation with class. I've spent decades shopping in luxury boutiques, and I've never seen anything quite like this. The small office behind the showroom was beautifully appointed, but notably free of ostentation, a philosophy Olivia had insisted on throughout her company. Quality materials and exceptional design spoke more eloquently than flashy displays of wealth ever could. When the door closed behind them, Victoria immediately began damage control. Bennett, I cannot express how mortified I am about this misunderstanding. Had I known who you were. That's precisely the problem. Olivia interrupted, her voice calm but firm. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with dignity and respect. Our foundational principle at Elysium is that true luxury is an experience, not just a product, and that experience should be extended to everyone who walks through our doors. Victoria's professional facade crumbled further. We maintain extremely high standards for our clientele? No, Olivia cut in sharply. We maintain extremely high standards for our products and our service, not for our clients. There's a critical difference. Sierra, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. I've suspected this was happening. The creative team and the sales floor operate so separately that I mostly interact with Victoria during scheduled meetings. But I've heard things from the junior staff. Like Thomas, Olivia noted. Yes, he's only been here briefly but raised concerns during a design consultation last week. I was planning to observe more closely before bringing it to your attention. Victoria's expression hardened. Thomas is hardly experienced enough to understand our client management strategies. Client management strategies, Olivia repeated, raising an eyebrow. Is that what you call judging people by their appearance and deciding who deserves attention based on their clothes or accessories? The luxury market requires certain sufficiencies, Victoria argued, though her confidence was clearly waning. We need to prioritize clients who appreciate and can afford our offerings. And you determine that how? By their handbag, their shoes, their jewelry. Olivia gestured to her own simple appearance. I'm the owner of this company, and you deem me unworthy of basic courtesy. Victoria had no response. Olivia continued, her disappointment evident. Do you know how I started this company? Working retail at a luxury department store where I was treated exactly how you treated me today. I saved every penny from my commissions while attending business school at night. My first store was 800 square feet in a side street in Chicago, and now we have 17 locations and a waiting list of developers begging us to anchor their luxury properties. She paused, letting the words sink in. I built Elysium on the principle that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. That luxury isn't about exclusion, it's about exceptional experiences and craftsmanship. The accessible pieces code and whatever other systems you've implemented directly contradict everything this company stands for. Victoria's professional demeanor had completely dissolved. Replaced by growing alarm, I was trying to maintain the exclusive atmosphere that luxury clients expect, be creating an environment of judgment and elitism. Olivia shook her head. True exclusivity comes from exceptional products and experiences, not from making people feel unwelcome. The most wealthy and influential clients I know often dress casually. Many of our best customers are tech executives who shop in jeans and hoodies but spend six figures annually. Sierra nodded in agreement. Some of my biggest collectors arrive at runway shows in sneakers and vintage t-shirts. Appearance has never been a reliable indicator of spending power, especially in today's world. Victoria seemed to realize her position was becoming untenable. What happens now? She asked quietly. Olivia took a deep breath. In her younger days, she might have fired Victoria on the spot, making an example of her. But experience had taught her that public humiliation rarely led to meaningful change in individuals or organizations. That depends on you, she said finally. I witnessed a culture in this store that goes against everything we stand for, but culture is created collectively. I need to understand if you believe in our actual values, or if you were just saying what you thought I wanted to hear during your interview process. Victoria was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice had lost its polished veneer. Luxury retail has been my entire career. Every boutique I've worked in operated with some version of the same philosophy: prioritize those who look the part. I excelled in that environment. She looked up at Olivia. Your company's stated values sounded wonderful, but honestly I assumed they were just marketing. The candor was surprising, but Olivia appreciated it more than continued pretense. And now? Victoria considered the question carefully. I'm not sure. The idea that everyone deserves the same level of service regardless of appearance sounds admirable, but is it realistic? Luxury has always been about exclusivity. You're confusing exclusivity of product with exclusivity of treatment, Olivia explained. Our pieces are exclusive because of their limited production, exceptional materials, and master craftsmanship, not because we're rude to people who don't look wealthy enough to buy them. Sierra leaned forward. Some of our most loyal clients started with small purchases, a card case, a keychain, before developing into collectors who buy multiple pieces from each collection. If we had judged them at that first interaction, we would have lost not just their business but their advocacy. Victoria nodded slowly, genuinely considering their words. I have a lot to learn, she admitted finally. If you're willing to give me the opportunity, I'd like to understand your vision better. The results you've achieved speak for themselves. Olivia studied her, trying to gauge her sincerity. I believe in second chances, Victoria. But I need to know this isn't just about saving your job. It's not, Victoria replied, and for the first time since their interaction began, her words carried authentic emotion. What you built is remarkable. Today was illuminating, humbling if I'm honest. Humbling experiences often lead to the most growth, Olivia observed. Here's what's going to happen. Sierra will take over as interim store director for 2 weeks. During that time, you'll go through our foundational training again, not just the procedures, but the philosophy behind them. You'll also spend time in several departments, including a week working with our customer service team to understand the diversity of our client base. Victoria looked surprised but nodded her acceptance. After that period, we'll reassess. Olivia continued. If you've demonstrated a genuine understanding of our values and a commitment to implementing them, you'll be reinstated, with Sierra maintaining oversight for an additional period. Thank you for the opportunity, Victoria said quietly. Don't thank me yet, Olivia replied candidly. This won't be easy. You'll be rebuilding trust with your team and changing habits that have been reinforced throughout your career. The question is whether you believe our philosophy enough to truly embrace it. Victoria considered this. I'd like to try. Your success speaks for itself, and clearly, my approach has limitations I hadn't recognized. Sierra spoke up. I'll support you through the process, Victoria. This isn't about public shaming, it's about growth and alignment with what makes Elysium special. Olivia stood, signaling the end of their private conversation. Sierra, please gather the full staff in 15 minutes. We need to address everyone together. When Sierra left to assemble the team, Olivia turned back to Victoria. One more thing, Thomas will be receiving a commendation for his integrity. The ability to speak truth to power, especially when your job might be at risk, is exactly the kind of courage we value. Victoria nodded, a new understanding beginning to form in her expression. 15 minutes later, the entire store staff, 14 people in total, gathered in the private client lounge area, where normally their most elite customers would relax with champagne while considering their purchases. The regular store operations had been temporarily suspended, with a discreet sign indicating they would reopen shortly. Olivia stood before them, still in her simple jeans and t-shirt, but now carrying herself with the unmistakable presence of a leader. The staff members exchanged nervous glances, clearly uncertain about what would happen next. Good afternoon, everyone. For those who haven't yet realized, I'm Olivia Bennett. She paused, allowing that information to settle for those who might have missed the earlier revelation. Today I experienced our Los Angeles store as a customer would, and I discovered a significant gap between our company's values and what's actually happening on the floor. The discomfort in the room was palpable. Some employees looked at the floor, while others darted accusing glances at colleagues, perhaps wondering who might have known about the undercover visit. Let me be clear about something, Olivia continued. This isn't about catching people doing something wrong. It's about ensuring that what we say we value is reflected in how we actually operate. And right now, there's a disconnect. She moved to the center of the gathered staff. When I founded this company, I had one guiding principle. True luxury isn't about exclusion, it's about exceptional experiences. Everyone who walks through our doors deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of what they're wearing, what accessories they're carrying, or what car they arrived in. Olivia noticed a few staff members nodding in agreement while others looked skeptical. I understand this might be different from what some of you have experienced elsewhere in luxury retail. Many companies do operate on a model of exclusion and judgment. They've trained you to quickly assess who's worthy of attention based on superficial criteria. She paused, making eye contact with various team members. That approach is not only morally questionable, it's also bad business. This seemed to surprise some of them. Let me tell you about Carmen Rodriguez. Olivia continued. She came into our Chicago store 5 years ago wearing workout clothes and sneakers. Based on the codes I heard being used here today, she probably would have been classified as someone not worth much attention. The store director personally assisted her anyway, following our company policy. Carmen bought a small card case that day about the least expensive item in the store. Olivia smiled at the memory. That same Carmen Rodriguez is now one of our top 10 clients globally. She's a tech entrepreneur who sold her company for 9 figures and now buys multiple pieces from every collection. She still often shops in leggings and running shoes because that's what makes her comfortable. The staff exchanged glances, some looking thoughtful. Or consider Mr. Zhang, who visited our New York location wearing what one associate described as cheap, ill-fitting clothes. He received the full Elysium experience regardless and ended up purchasing our entire limited edition watch collection, 8 pieces totaling over $500,000. He now sends his personal assistant to pick up new items from every collection. Olivia let these examples sink in before continuing. These aren't anomalies. They represent a fundamental truth. Appearance is often a terrible indicator of spending power or appreciation for quality. Some of the wealthiest people in the world prioritize comfort over status symbols. Some people save for months or years to purchase a single luxury item that holds special meaning. Others might be browsing today, but become major clients in the future. She looked around at each person. The point is, we never know someone's full story when they walk through that door. Our job isn't to judge, it's to serve. To create an experience so exceptional that people leave feeling valued, whether they purchased something or not. Victoria, who had been standing quietly to the side, stepped forward. As your store director, I take responsibility for the culture that's developed here. So I implemented practices that contradicted company values, and I failed to embody the principles that make Elysium special. For that, I apologized to Ms. Bennett, to all of you, and to the customers who didn't receive the experience they deserved. Her candor seemed to surprise the staff, many of whom had clearly never seen this side of their typically polished and somewhat intimidating manager. Victoria continued, I'll be stepping back temporarily to undergo additional training and reflection. During this time, Sierra will serve as interim director. Sierra moved to stand beside Olivia. This is an opportunity for us to reset and realign with the vision that makes Elysium unique in luxury retail. I'll be working closely with each of you to ensure we're delivering the experience our clients deserve, all of our clients. Olivia addressed the group again. I want to acknowledge Thomas, who demonstrated remarkable courage today by speaking up about practices he knew weren't right, even when it might have cost him his position. Thomas, a young man in his early 20s, looked simultaneously proud and embarrassed by the recognition. That kind of integrity is exactly what we need, Olivia continued. Over the next few weeks, we'll be implementing some changes to ensure our practices align with our values. Sierra will guide this process, and I'll be staying in Los Angeles to support the transition. She paused, then added with genuine warmth, I believe in second chances and fresh starts. Today isn't about blame, it's about growth. Together, we have an opportunity to create something truly exceptional here, a luxury experience that honors the dignity of every person who walks through our doors. The mood in the room had shifted from tense apprehension to thoughtful consideration. Several staff members nodded in agreement, while others seemed to be processing this new perspective. We'll reopen in 30 minutes, Olivia concluded. Please use this time to reflect on what we've discussed. If anyone feels they cannot align with this vision, please speak with Sierra privately. There will be no penalties or negative references if you decide this isn't the right fit for you. As the staff dispersed, Thomas approached Olivia hesitantly. Ms. Bennett, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. I wasn't sure if speaking up would make any difference. Olivia smiled at the young man. It made all the difference, Thomas. Courage often comes from unexpected places. How long have you been with us? Just 2 weeks, he replied. This is my first job in luxury retail. I was excited to work here because I read an article about your approach to customer service. When I saw what was actually happening, he trailed off, shrugging slightly. The gap between our stated values and our actions was concerning you, Olivia finished for him. Exactly. I almost didn't say anything. But then I thought, what's the point of having values if no one upholds them? Olivia felt a surge of appreciation for this young man's clarity. That's precisely right, Thomas. And it's why your perspective is so valuable. Sometimes those newest to an organization can see things most clearly before they become normalized. Thomas smiled, clearly encouraged by her words. So I still have a job, absolutely, Olivia assured him. In fact, I'd like you to play a special role in our reset. Sierra will discuss the details with you. But essentially, we'd like you to help retrain the team on our core service principles. Your fresh perspective combined with your evident commitment to our values makes you ideal for this. As Thomas walked away, visibly energized by the conversation, Sierra approached Olivia. That was handled beautifully, she said quietly. I was worried you might clean house entirely. Olivia shook her head. Mass firings make headlines but rarely create lasting change. Most of these people aren't inherently elitist, they've just been trained in a broken system and led by someone who reinforced those problems. With the right guidance, most can adapt, and those who can't will self-select out once they realize our values aren't just for show, Olivia replied. It's easier to find people with the right attitude and train them on luxury products than to change someone's fundamental beliefs about human dignity. Sierra nodded in agreement. I should have noticed this sooner. I've been so focused on the creative side that I missed what was happening on the floor. We all have our blind spots, Olivia assured her. What matters is how we respond when they're revealed. The store reopened 30 minutes later with a noticeably different atmosphere. Victoria had temporarily stepped away, with Sierra visibly directing the team. Olivia stayed on the floor. Now openly identified as the owner but still dressed in her casual attire, a living reminder of the lesson they were learning. Within an hour, Catherine Winters returned, this time bringing along 2 friends. She approached Olivia with a knowing smile. I couldn't resist telling my friends about what happened, she admitted. Hope you don't mind the audience. They didn't believe that the owner of Elysium had been practically escorted out of her own store. Olivia laughed genuinely. I'm just glad you came back. Most people wouldn't have been so forgiving. Catherine waved her hand dismissively. I've been shopping in luxury boutiques for 40 years, my dears. I've seen every variation of snobbery imaginable. What I witnessed today was refreshing, someone actually holding these establishments accountable. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Between us, I've been snubbed in some of the most exclusive shops in Paris and Milan despite spending small fortunes in them. The day I left my diamonds at home and wore casual clothes for a flight, one boutique refused to unlatch their door for me. Did you go back? Olivia asked. With every piece of jewelry I owned the next day, Catherine confirmed with a mischievous gleam in her eye. Bought a pair of earrings and never returned. Petty, perhaps. Satisfying. Absolutely. Olivia couldn't help but smile at Catherine's candor. Well, I hope your experience here today and moving forward will be considerably more positive. I have no doubt it will, Catherine assured her, then gestured to her friends. Now, Sierra has kindly offered to show us the new collection. I suspect I'll be significantly poorer when I leave. As Catherine and her friends moved deeper into the store, Olivia noticed Thomas confidently assisting a young woman who had wandered in wearing ripped jeans and a vintage t-shirt. Rather than making assumptions, he was attentively showing her the same level of pieces he would offer any client, explaining the craftsmanship with genuine enthusiasm. The young woman, it turned out, was a popular social media personality with millions of followers, something the staff discovered only when another client recognized her and asked for a photo. By then, Thomas had already connected with her based solely on her interest in the products, not her status or appearance. Throughout the afternoon, Olivia observed the staff navigating their reshaped environment with varying degrees of comfort. Some adapted immediately, seeming almost relieved to abandon the judgment-based system. Others struggled, their ingrained habits requiring conscious effort to overcome. Madison, who had earlier tried to redirect Olivia to more suitable products, now appeared particularly anxious, overcompensating by offering champagne to everyone, including a delivery person who had simply come to drop off a package. By closing time, the store had experienced one of its highest grossing days in its brief history, driven partly by Catherine Winters and her friends' substantial purchases, but also by several unexpected sales to clients who might previously have been dismissed based on appearance. As the last customer departed, Sierra gathered the staff for a brief debrief. Olivia stood to the side, allowing her to take the lead. "Today was a reset," Sierra told the team. "I know it wasn't easy, and I appreciate everyone's effort to embrace a different approach. This is just the beginning of our journey to align our actions with our values." She turned to Olivia. "Would you like to add anything before we close?" Olivia stepped forward. "Just a simple observation. Did anyone notice how sales performance compared to your typical day?" Ethan spoke up hesitantly. "We did almost triple our daily average. And how many of those sales came from clients you might have previously classified as unlikely to purchase?" Olivia pressed gently. Madison answered this time. "At least 4 of our major sales, including that tech CEO who came in wearing flip-flops and bought 3 handbags." Olivia nodded. "Exactly. This isn't just about doing the right thing morally, though that would be reason enough. It's also smart business. When we remove our preconceptions and truly see each person who walks through that door, we open ourselves to possibilities that judgment blinds us to." She looked around at each staff member. "Rest, reflect, and come back tomorrow ready to continue this transformation. Change doesn't happen overnight, but today was a promising start." As the staff departed, Sierra stayed behind with Olivia to secure the store. "Quite a day," Sierra commented as they did a final walk through. "Do you think it will stick?" Olivia considered the question carefully. "Some will embrace it, some will adapt reluctantly, and some will probably leave. That's how change usually works. But the culture will shift, I'm confident of that." "And Victoria?" "That remains to be seen," Olivia admitted. Her candor today was encouraging. It's rare for someone to admit they've been operating on flawed assumptions rather than making excuses or getting defensive. Sierra nodded thoughtfully. "True transformation is possible, but only when people are willing to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves." "Exactly," Olivia agreed. "And sometimes, experiencing something firsthand is the only way to truly understand its impact." As they prepared to leave, Olivia took one last look around the beautiful space she had created, the perfectly arranged merchandise, the elegant fixtures, the attention to every detail. Elysium was designed to be special, but not in the way Victoria had interpreted. Its exclusivity came from exceptional quality and experience, not from excluding people based on superficial judgments. "You know," Sierra said as they walked toward the exit, "when you hired me, you said something that has always stayed with me. You said that true luxury isn't about making people feel small, it's about making them feel seen." Olivia smiled, remembering that conversation. "I still believe that. Perhaps more strongly than ever after today." The next morning arrived with Los Angeles' characteristic golden sunshine streaming through the windows of Olivia's hotel suite. She had chosen to stay at a boutique hotel rather than one of the city's famous luxury properties, preferring its unique character and personalized service to predictable opulence. As she prepared for the day, selecting another simple outfit, dark jeans, a crisp white button-down, and comfortable loafers, her phone chimed with a message from Sierra's. "You might want to check social media before coming in. Things have developed." Curious and slightly concerned, Olivia opened her laptop and navigated to the company's social media accounts. Nothing unusual appeared there, but when she searched for Elysium Los Angeles, she discovered what had prompted Sierra's message. The social media influencer from the previous day, a young woman named Riley Chen with over 7 million followers, had posted a detailed account of her experience at Elysium. She described being assisted by Thomas, who had treated her with genuine respect and enthusiasm despite her casual appearance, then learning about what had transpired earlier with the owner. In an industry built on exclusivity and judgment, Elysium officials' owner, Olivia Bennett, showed what true leadership looks like yesterday. Riley had written. After experiencing discrimination in her OWN store while dressed casually, she turned it into a teachable moment instead of a PR nightmare. This is how you build authentic luxury brands in 2023, not by gatekeeping, but by recognizing the humanity in everyone who walks through your doors. The post had gone viral overnight, accumulating hundreds of thousands of likes and tens of thousands of comments and shares. Fashion blogs and even some mainstream news outlets had picked up the story, framing it as a refreshing challenge to luxury retail's notorious elitism. Olivia sat back, processing this unexpected development. She had never sought publicity for herself or used her position as a platform for personal branding. The company's success had been built on exceptional products and experiences, not her personal story. Her phone rang. Sierra again. "Have you seen it?" she asked when Olivia answered. "Just now," Olivia confirmed. "It's not what I expected. It's everywhere," Sierra continued. Women's Wear Daily just published an article. Business of Fashion is running a feature on the changing face of luxury retail, with you as the centerpiece. And the store's phone has been ringing continuously since we opened. Journalists, potential customers, even other luxury brands wanting to discuss inclusion initiatives. Olivia sighed. While the message being spread aligned with her values, she had always preferred to let the company's actions speak rather than positioning herself as a public figure. "How's the team handling it?" she asked. "Mixed reactions," Sierra admitted. "Some are excited by the attention, others are worried about being associated with the before part of the story. Victoria saw it all. She called me this morning. She'd like to speak with you when you come in." "I'll be there in an hour," Olivia promised. When she arrived at Elysium, the store was noticeably busier than it had been the previous day. A diverse mix of people browsed the collections, some clearly drawn by the viral story. The staff appeared to be making concerted efforts to treat each visitor with equal attention and respect, though Olivia could sense the strain in some of their forced smiles. Sierra met her at the entrance, keeping her voice low. "Victoria's in the office. Thomas has had 3 interview requests from fashion publications. Catherine Winters called to say we've become the talk of her social circle, and Riley Chen wants to do a formal collaboration with us on an inclusive luxury campaign." Olivia took a deep breath, centering herself. "Let's handle one thing at a time. I'll speak with Victoria first." In the office, Victoria waited with uncharacteristic nervousness. Gone was yesterday's perfectly coiffed appearance. Today she wore minimal makeup, her hair pulled back simply, and a more understated outfit. The transformation was subtle but noticeable: less armor, more authenticity. "Ms. Bennett," she began as Olivia entered. "I've seen the social media attention. I wanted to speak with you before things progressed further." Olivia sat down across from her. "I'm listening." Victoria took a deep breath. "I've been reflecting intensely since yesterday. I hardly slept. The way I treated you, the way I've trained the staff to evaluate and categorize people, it's indefensible. I've spent 15 years in luxury retail believing that exclusivity required exclusion. That judgment was not just acceptable but necessary." She met Olivia's gaze directly. "I was wrong, and I need to take responsibility for that publicly." This was not what Olivia had expected. "What are you suggesting?" "In the articles being written, in the social media storm, I should be named?" Victoria said firmly, "Not protected or anonymized. If there's going to be a story about transformation, it should include the person who needs to transform the most." Olivia studied her with newfound respect. "That's a brave position, Victoria. Most people would be looking for ways to distance themselves from the situation." "I'm tired of being part of the problem," Victoria replied simply. "I've built my career on a fundamentally flawed premise. If I'm going to change, truly change, I can't hide from my mistakes." After a moment of consideration, Olivia nodded. "If you're certain this is what you want, I won't stand in your way. But understand that public accountability brings both challenges and opportunities. People can be quick to condemn and slow to recognize genuine change. I understand the risks," Victoria assured her. "But after seeing that social media post, reading hundreds of comments from people who felt judged, dismissed, or humiliated in luxury spaces, I realize I've been complicit in causing real harm. Harm that extends far beyond a single uncomfortable interaction." Olivia was moved by Victoria's evident sincerity. "What prompted this level of reflection?" "Most people in your position would be focused on saving their job, not embarking on a public journey of accountability." Victoria was quiet for a moment, seeming to consider how much to share. "Finally," she said, "Mother cleaned houses for wealthy families to put me through college. She would save for months to buy me one quality piece each year: a coat, a bag, a pair of shoes. She believed investing in few well-made items was better than many disposable ones. Her voice grew softer. Once, she took me to a luxury department store to buy my graduation gift, a wallet she'd been saving for. She was treated exactly how I treated you yesterday. The saleswoman suggested she might be more comfortable at a different store. I still remember the shame in my mother's eyes. Olivia listened intently as Victoria continued. Somehow, as I climbed in this industry, I became the very person who humiliated my mother. I adopted the attitudes and behaviors I once despised because they felt like markers of belonging in this world. She shook her head slowly. Yesterday was like seeing myself from the outside for the first time in years. The vulnerability in Victoria's admission created a new connection between the two women. Olivia reached across the desk and briefly touched Victoria's hand in a gesture of understanding. "Thank you for sharing that with me," she said. "Personal transformation often begins when we reconnect with parts of ourselves we've buried or forgotten." Victoria nodded, composing herself. "So what happens now, with the media attention? It's the store, my role. Now," Olivia said thoughtfully, "we have an opportunity to turn an uncomfortable moment into meaningful change, not just for Elysium, but potentially for luxury retail more broadly." She stood and moved to the window overlooking the main floor, where customers continued to browse while staff navigated their new approach to service. "I never intended to become the face of a movement or use my personal story as a brand narrative," Olivia admitted. "But sometimes the moments we don't plan become the most impactful." Turning back to Victoria, she continued, "If you're serious about public accountability, I propose we do something unconventional. Instead of a standard corporate response, what if we shared both perspectives? Your journey of recognition and commitment to change alongside my vision for what luxury can and should be." Victoria looked surprised but intrigued. "You would position us as partners in transformation rather than an employer disciplining an employee." "Exactly," Olivia confirmed. "Meaningful change rarely happens through public shaming. It happens through honest reflection and commitment to doing better. Your willingness to own your mistakes publicly could be powerful, not just for our brand, but for others in similar positions throughout the industry." For the first time since Olivia had met her, Victoria's smile reached her eyes, a genuine expression rather than a professional mask. "I'd be honored to be part of that conversation." "It won't be easy," Olivia cautioned. "You'll face criticism. Some will question your sincerity." "I know," Victoria acknowledged, "but continuing as I was isn't an option anymore. Not if I want to recognize myself when I look in the mirror." Olivia nodded, a plan beginning to form. "Let's start with an honest conversation, you, me, and Sierra. We'll record it, unscripted and unedited, and share it on our platforms. No corporate speak, no carefully crafted messaging, just authentic dialogue about privilege, perception, and the possibility of change." As Victoria left to prepare, Sierra entered with an update on the store's operations and the continuing media requests. "You seem remarkably calm about all this," Sierra observed after delivering her report. "Most executives would be in crisis management mode." Olivia smiled slightly. "Crisis or opportunity depends largely on perspective. What happened yesterday wasn't in anyone's strategic plan, but it might end up being more meaningful than a dozen carefully orchestrated campaigns." Sierra nodded thoughtfully. "Victoria seems different today. More human. She shared something meaningful with me," Olivia replied without betraying Victoria's confidence. "I believe her commitment to change is genuine. So what's next? We're going to have a conversation, the three of us, about what happened, what we learned, and where we go from here. Transparent, authentic, unscripted." Sierra's eyes widened. "That's not the conventional crisis management approach." "We're not managing a crisis," Olivia corrected gently. "We're embracing an opportunity to align our public identity with our actual values, and maybe, just maybe, to challenge some deeply entrenched norms in luxury retail along the way." "Bold move," Sierra commented with an approving nod. "But then, that's been your approach from the beginning, hasn't it? Challenging the idea that luxury must be synonymous with exclusion and elitism. The original disruptor was quality," Olivia reflected. "Exceptional materials, craftsmanship, and design created the foundation of luxury. Somewhere along the way, the industry confused exclusivity of product with exclusivity of access. We've always tried to correct that misunderstanding," Sierra smiled. "And now we have a viral moment to amplify that message." "Precisely. Let's use it wisely." 3 days later, Olivia sat in her temporary office at Elysium's Los Angeles location, reviewing the impact of their unconventional approach to what could have been a damaging incident. The recorded conversation between herself, Victoria, and Sierra had been published unedited on all company platforms, along with a thoughtful statement about the company's commitment to creating truly inclusive luxury experiences. Rather than the corporate damage control most had expected, The conversation had been refreshingly honest. Victoria had spoken candidly about her background, her journey in luxury retail, and how she had internalized elitist attitudes that contradicted her own experiences of exclusion. Olivia had shared her vision for redefining luxury around quality and experience rather than status and exclusion. Sierra had offered perspective on how creative expression in fashion could either reinforce or challenge harmful norms. The response had been overwhelming. Industry publications praised the transparency. Customers shared their own experiences of judgment in luxury settings. Other retail executives reached out privately to discuss how they might address similar issues within their organizations. Thomas knocked gently on her open door. "Ms. Bennett, do you have a moment?" "Of course, Thomas. And please, call me Olivia." He entered somewhat hesitantly, still adjusting to direct access to the company's founder. "I wanted to thank you for the opportunity you've given me with the customer experience team. It's been incredible to help reshape our approach." Olivia smiled warmly. "You earned it by having the courage to speak up when it would have been easier to stay silent." "I've been thinking about something," Thomas continued. "Since the video was released, we've had so many people come into the store, not just to shop, but to share their stories. People who felt excluded from luxury spaces because of how they look, what they wear, their accent, or dozens of other factors. I've heard similar reports from our other locations." Olivia nodded. "It seems we touched a nerve." "Exactly," Thomas said, his enthusiasm growing. "What if we created a platform for those stories, not just as a one-time response to what happened here, but as an ongoing commitment to changing the conversation around luxury and belonging?" Olivia leaned forward, intrigued. "What are you envisioning? A dedicated space, digital and maybe even physical, where people can share experiences of both exclusion and inclusion in luxury settings. We could feature stories of transformation, highlight brands and individuals doing this well, create resources for companies wanting to change their approach." His words tumbled out rapidly now, his passion evident. "What could call it beyond the label or something similar?" Olivia considered the suggestion, impressed by its potential impact. "That's a powerful concept, Thomas. It extends beyond marketing or brand building into actual cultural change." "Exactly," he agreed eagerly. "And who better to lead it than Elysium? You've been quietly practicing these values for years, now there's an opportunity to advocate for them more openly." The idea resonated with Olivia's deepest values, while pushing her beyond her usual comfort zone of leading quietly by example. "Draft a proposal," she decided. "Nothing formal, just outline your vision, potential platforms, and initial steps. Let's discuss it further once you've organized your thoughts." Thomas left with renewed energy, and Olivia turned back to her desk, where a different kind of proposal awaited her attention. Catherine Winters had introduced her to several influential women in Los Angeles' business community, resulting in an invitation to join an exclusive coalition of female executives working to transform corporate culture across industries. The irony wasn't lost on Olivia being invited into an exclusive group because of her stand against exclusivity, but perhaps that was how change often worked, using existing structures and influence to gradually reshape the landscape. Victoria knocked on her door next, tablet in hand. "The numbers from our other locations just came in. Sales are up 22% across all stores compared to this time last year. The publicity has obviously helped," Olivia observed. "It's more than that," Victoria countered, sliding the tablet across the desk to show Olivia the detailed breakdown. "Yes, traffic is up because of the attention, but our conversion rate has increased significantly too. People aren't just coming in to see what the fuss is about, they're connecting with our products and purchasing." Olivia studied the data. "The average transaction value has increased as well." "Interesting. Sierra has a theory about that," Victoria said. "She thinks when people feel truly welcomed and respected, they're more comfortable exploring the full range of offerings rather than heading straight for the least expensive items to justify their presence." "That aligns with what we've observed over the years," Olivia agreed. "When you remove the pressure and judgment, clients are free to connect authentically with what truly speaks to them regardless of price point." Victoria hesitated, then added, "I've been implementing some of the changes we discussed with the team here, and the response has been remarkable. Yesterday, a woman came in who'd have been overlooked under my previous approach. She ended up purchasing 3 pieces from the new collection after Ethan spent almost an hour just talking with her about the craftsmanship. Progress happens one interaction at a time," Olivia said with an approving nod. "I know my 2-week observation period isn't over yet." Victoria continued carefully, "But I wanted you to know that this isn't just compliance for me anymore. I genuinely believe in what we're doing." Olivia studied her, noting the authentic conviction that had replaced the polished veneer. "I can see that, Victoria. and I appreciate you embracing this change so thoroughly." After Victoria left, Olivia took a moment to reflect on the extraordinary events of the past few days. What had begun as a simple store visit had evolved into something with far greater significance, not just for Elysium, but potentially for luxury retail more broadly. She had never sought to be an industry disruptor or a public advocate. Her approach had always been to build something aligned with her values and let its success speak for itself. But sometimes circumstances demanded a more visible stance, a clearer voice. As she prepared to meet with Sierra about the upcoming collection launch, Olivia thought about Thomas's proposal and the broader opportunity it represented. Perhaps this was the natural evolution of Elysium's mission, moving beyond creating inclusive luxury experiences to actively challenging the systems and assumptions that made such experiences rare. The path forward wasn't entirely clear, but the direction was unmistakable. In a world that constantly assigned value based on appearances and labels, Elysium would continue to stand for something different: the radical notion that true luxury wasn't about exclusion or status, but about exceptional quality, meaningful experiences, and the fundamental dignity of every person who walked through their doors. 6 months later, Olivia stood at the podium in Elysium's newly opened New York flagship store, addressing an audience of industry leaders, media representatives, and loyal clients gathered for the launch of their Beyond the Label initiative. The project had evolved from Thomas's initial concept into a comprehensive platform for challenging exclusionary practices in luxury retail and advocating for a more inclusive vision of exceptional service and experiences. Victoria stood, now fully reinstated as the Los Angeles store director, but also serving as the company's new chief inclusion officer, a role created specifically to leverage her unique journey from enforcing exclusionary practices to championing their dismantling. True luxury has never been about who we keep out, Olivia concluded her remarks. It's about the exceptional experiences we create for everyone who enters our space. It's about craftsmanship, quality, and service that recognizes the inherent dignity of each person, regardless of appearance, background, or first impressions. She gestured to the diverse group assembled before her, people of various ages, backgrounds, styles, and expressions of identity. The future of luxury isn't exclusion. It's excellence without elitism, quality without qualification, and experiences that elevate rather than evaluate. As applause filled the room, Olivia caught Victoria's eye across the crowd. Both women shared a moment of quiet acknowledgement, an appreciation for how an uncomfortable confrontation had transformed into a movement with potential to change not just their company, but an entire industry's approach to who belonged in spaces of luxury and excellence. In the 6 months since that fateful day in Los Angeles, Elysium had experienced record growth, expanded its customer base significantly, and become an unexpected leader in conversations about inclusion in luxury markets. The Beyond the Label platform had collected thousands of stories from people who had experienced both exclusion and exceptional welcome in luxury spaces, creating a powerful narrative about the impact of judgment and the possibility of change. What had begun as a simple decision to visit a store unannounced to see firsthand how customers were being treated when no one knew the owner was watching had catalyzed a transformation that extended far beyond Olivia's original expectations. As she stepped away from the podium to mingle with guests, Olivia found herself approached by a young woman in simple, unbranded clothes that betrayed nothing about her status or spending power. "Ms. Bennett, I'm Sarah," the woman introduced herself. "I just wanted to thank you for what you're doing. Last year, before all this started, I was asked to leave a luxury boutique because the manager didn't think I belonged there." She smiled slightly. "I was actually scouting locations for my tech company's annual retreat with a 6-figure budget to spend. But they never got past how I looked." Olivia nodded in understanding. "I'm sorry that happened to you, Sarah. The thing is," Sarah continued, "after hearing your story and seeing this initiative, I finally felt seen in a way I never expected from the luxury world. And it really mattered. Not because I need validation from expensive brands, but because everyone deserves to be treated with basic dignity, regardless of what they're wearing or how they present themselves." As Sarah moved on to explore the store, Olivia was struck by the ripple effects of what had initially seemed like a singular incident. The fundamental shift hadn't been in marketing strategy or brand positioning, it had been in recognizing and honoring the humanity present in every interaction. Victoria joined her, champagne glass in hand. "Quite a journey from that day in Los Angeles," she observed. "For both of us," Olivia agreed. "You know what I've been thinking about lately?" Victoria said. "Watching the diverse crowd enjoying the beautifully designed space. How many opportunities I missed over the years, not just sales, but connections with interesting people. Exposure to different perspectives, chances to grow, all because I was so focused on evaluating whether someone belonged in luxury spaces. Olivia nodded thoughtfully. The most insidious aspect of judgment is how it limits both the judged and the judge. Exactly. Victoria sipped her champagne. I spent 15 years in a self-imposed prison of elitism, missing the real richness all around me. Thomas approached, now confidently wearing the title of Director of Community Engagement for the Beyond the Label initiative. The media response is incredible, he reported enthusiastically, and we've already had 3 major luxury groups reach out about implementing similar approaches in their organizations. Industry change happens one company at a time, Olivia observed. As the evening progressed, Olivia found a quiet moment to step away from the celebration and reflect. The journey from that confrontation in Los Angeles to this moment had been unexpected but profoundly meaningful. What began as a simple desire to ensure her company's values were being practiced had evolved into something with potential for far greater impact. In challenging the deeply entrenched belief that luxury required exclusion and judgment, Elysium had struck a chord that resonated far beyond retail, touching on fundamental questions about worth, belonging, and the human tendency to assign value based on appearances. The path forward would undoubtedly include challenges. Changing ingrained behaviors and systems was never simple or linear. Some would resist, clinging to familiar hierarchies and comfortable judgments. Others would adopt the language of inclusion without embracing its deeper implications. But standing in the beautifully designed space, filled with people who might once have been categorized, dismissed, or unwelcome based on superficial assessments, Olivia felt a profound sense of possibility. The luxury industry, like many others, had operated on flawed assumptions about who belonged and who didn't for far too long. Perhaps the true luxury had always been freedom from judgment, from narrow definitions of worth, from the constant pressure to prove one's value through visible markers of status and wealth. As Olivia rejoined the celebration, greeting guests with genuine warmth regardless of what they wore or carried, she reflected on the simple truth that had guided her company from the beginning: everyone deserves to be seen, respected, and welcomed for who they are, not how they appear. In a world obsessed with labels and appearances, that might be the most revolutionary luxury of all.